There's Joe.
Yeah.
Yay, I found myself.
Great.
Very good.
I apologize. I couldn't find this actual link, so my staff was rushing around and we got it.
No
All
problem.
Okay.
We're live on YouTube. I'm ready to go.
We're live. All right. I'm going to call the Clean Energy Alliance Board of Directors meeting to order. It's August 25th, 2022 at 2 p.m. And Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Certainly. Member Musgrove.
Present.
Member Acosta.
Here.
Member Insco.
Here.
Vice Chair Drucker.
Here.
And Chair Becker.
Present.
Thank you.
All right. We are onto the flag salute. We'll wait till we see a flag on there, and Board Member Musgrove has volunteered to lead us.
Fantastic. Thank you. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
All right. We'll have to practice that for next time. All right. Now, we would like to move item number 4 up to right now so that we can, after that, take the oath of office for the city of Oceanside and the city of Vista for the primary and alternate board members. And do we need a motion to move item number 4?
Move item 4 to the top.
All right.
Second, Acosta.
All right. Call for the vote.
Member Acosta.
Yes.
Member Insco.
Yes.
Member Musgrove.
Yes.
Vice Chair Drucker.
Yes.
Chair Becker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. That brings us to the exciting oath of office. It's over to you.
One moment, Chair Becker. We voted to move it. Now we need to vote for the to take the action.
Oh, okay. Do you need to introduce anything on item number 4 before we do that?
Sure. The item before the board for consideration is adopting resolution number 2022-005, which approves the amended and restated amendment number 1 to Clean Energy Alliance Joint Powers Agreement and officially adds the cities of Oceanside and Vista as members to Clean Energy Alliance and becoming parties of the Joint Powers Agreement.
I'll move forward on the recommendation.
Second.
Everyone's so excited about it. Yes. Woohoo. Okay. We have a move and a second. So let's call for the vote.
Member Musgrove.
Yes.
Member Acosta.
Yes.
Member Insco.
Yes.
Vice Chair Drucker.
Yes.
Chair Becker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Very good. All right. Who will be running the oath?
I will be running the oath. So if all our new members could raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I state your name.
Joe Green.
I, Katie Melendez,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear
true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
Take this
that I
obligation
take this
freely
obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Thank you and welcome to the board.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us. I tell you, Vista's excited to be here. We're glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, very exciting. All right, very good. Okay, do we have any board comments or announcements? Yes, Board Member Acosta.
I just wanted to welcome and congratulate the new board members. We're so happy that you're here. Thank you for joining us.
Good. Board Member Insco.
Just ditto to what Board Member Acosta said.
Very good. Joe's excited. Okay, let's move on to our very exciting presentations. We have a Clean Energy Alliance 1-year anniversary video presentation.
Thank you, Chair Becker. As the board knows, we've recently completed our first year of operations. We started serving customers in May 2021 and completed our enrollments in June 2021. And we wanted to commemorate that with creating this video that highlights the accomplishments that we had in our first year. So if you don't mind us taking a moment, we'd like to share it with the board, and then we will make it available on our website.
I'm Christy Becker, Solana Beach City Council member and chair of CEA. The Clean Energy Alliance, CEA, launched as the new community choice energy provider within the cities of Carlsbad, Del Mar, and Solana Beach in May 2021. After 1 year of operation, CEA is expanding its services to the cities of Escondido and San Marcos, which will begin operations in 2023. This is quite an accomplishment from where we began as the smallest CCA in the state with Solana Energy Alliance. We have much to be proud of.
In addition to providing more choices and local control, our goal from the start was to bring cleaner energy options at a lower cost. So far, CEA has reduced greenhouse gas emissions by over 50% or 50,000 metric tons, which helps reduce smog and air pollution. We have been diligently working to meet the climate action goals for our member cities and customers, and will continue to do so in the next phase of CEA's growth.
In its first year, CEA has already saved customers nearly $2 million on generation costs. Since the beginning, CEA has purchased cleaner electricity from energy suppliers for residents and local businesses and provided more power supply choices. We look forward to continuing our commitment to providing CEA customers with clean energy options at competitive rates.
We in San Marcos are so thankful to be part of CEA. It is exciting to join the approximately 74,000 accounts that have already been served throughout CEA's first year. For the last few months, we have seen CEA consistently care for its customers and the overall environment, so it is a great time to join as CEA continues to expand into other cities.
CEA is eager and ready to continue expansion efforts in Southern California. CEA has led the way in reducing greenhouse gas emissions, improving quality of life, and meeting its climate action plan goals. Thank you for the first great year. We are looking forward to many more to come.
Yay! Not bad, huh? All right, thank you so much for putting that together. Very lovely photos. All right. Anybody have anything else on that 1 year anniversary? All right, that moves us to a report from the Clean Energy Alliance Community Advisory Committee, Chair Dwight Warden.
Thank you, Chair Becker. I'm pleased to be here. And let me give you a quick update. I'm continue to be impressed by how strong the commitment is of the Community Advisory Committee members. And we had a discussion at our most recent meeting and talked about outreach and social media and how best to go about it. And we had a vibrant discussion about how to actively combat misinformation, which was identified as a major problem, and the need for Clean Energy Alliance to respond quickly so that people have accurate information. We talked about how each community advisory committee representative can help the clean energy staff identify community groups in their city and outreach contacts that can be made to help communicate with people in each community. And that includes whether it's a chamber of commerce or a Rotary Club or a homeowners association or what have you. The Community Advisory Committee decided they would like to have a presence at community events. So street fairs and outdoor concerts, what have you. And I think some of our people are more than willing to volunteer to spend some time at tables and doing that kind of thing. And also to look at penning articles for local publications. In most of our cities, if not all of them, there are local newspapers or local publications where it could be very informative to have articles about what Clean Energy Alliance is doing. We also talked about meeting with school districts and to be sure that we are informing them of what we're doing and what we're up to. And to reach out to direct access customers. Those are the relatively small number of very large users who contract directly with San Diego Gas and Electric. For example, the Del Mar Fairgrounds is a direct access customer, but we want to make sure that those direct access customers also know what Clean Energy Alliance can offer them and how they can fit in. And when their time comes to consider renewing their direct access contracts, whether they might instead consider joining us. And then we looked at providing information packets or handouts of some sort at city halls in each of our member cities and for the public so that we can distribute information. And that's pretty much it. We are working in subcommittees and we had brief reports from each of our subcommittees. And everybody knows we're going to be getting some new members from Oceanside and Vista and very much looking forward to that. And for those new reps from Oceanside and Vista, if at any time you have questions about the Community Advisory Committee, you can feel free to contact me or Barbara Boswell, or if you would like either of us to catch you up on what the Community Advisory Committee has done so far, we'd be glad to do that. And that's what I got for you today.
Very, very good. Very thorough. And I'm wondering, I know our City of Solana Beach does on our website link to the Clean Energy Alliance. And I'm wondering if maybe you guys could check with your cities and make sure that they also link that up so that people can find out that information. So very good. All right. Do we have any public comments today?
We have no requests to speak.
All right. And we are to approval of the minutes for July 28th, 2022. I'll go ahead and move approval of those. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Call for the vote.
Member Musgrove?
Yes.
Member Acosta?
Yes.
Member Insco?
Yes.
Member Green?
Abstain.
Member Keim?
Abstain.
Vice Chair Drucker?
Yes.
And Chair Becker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Has any member of the public pulled a consent calendar item?
No.
And any board members wish to pull one of those items? So 1 through 7, but we've already moved item number 4. Entertain a motion to move the rest of those items. Board Member Green.
I move that we approve the balance of the consent calendar.
Very good.
I'll second.
Okay. Call for the vote.
Member Keim?
Yes.
Member Acosta?
Yes.
Member Insco?
Yes.
Member Green?
Aye.
Member Musgrove?
Yes.
Vice Chair Drucker?
Yes.
And Chair Becker?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Good. We are on to new business. Item number 8, another exciting moment. We're going to consider appointment of Clean Energy Alliance Interim Chief Financial Officer / Treasurer. Turn this back to our CEO.
Thank you, Chair Becker. We've had the pleasure and great opportunity since Clean Energy Alliance was formed to have Marie Bercuti serve as Clean Energy Alliance's interim Chief Financial Officer and Treasurer. And that originally started when she was with the City of Solana Beach. And she had retired from the City of Solana Beach, but graciously accepted to continue assisting us as interim CFO and has carried on those duties for the past about year and a half, I would say. She has done a great job at getting Clean Energy Alliance off the ground, creating our internal controls, helping us set up an accounting system with a great accounting firm, and developing our internal processes and procedures. She's sadly, she's decided she would like to actually really fully retire, and will be leaving us effective August 31st. As part of our board discussions, the board did discuss whether it was time to consider hiring a permanent full-time CFO or continue with an interim. And at this time, workload is such that interim CFO is the most cost-effective and efficient way to address this. We're very fortunate to have found Andy Stern. Andy comes to us as a recent retiree from Peninsula Clean Energy, which is a community choice energy program in Northern California. He brings a wealth of experience and expertise to us, and we will benefit from that as we continue to grow. In his duties there, he had responsibility for human resources, and that is a top priority for us in this coming fiscal year, in developing our HR policies and practices and beginning our efforts to begin our first hirings. So I'd like to welcome Andy Stern. He will, with board approval, will become the interim Chief Financial Officer Treasurer. And thanks very much to Marie for all that she's done over the past 2 years, almost 3 years, I think, since November of 2019. So.
Oh, very good. Well, it looks like Ms. Bercuti, your hand is up. Can we?
Yes, thank you. I really want to express my appreciation for the opportunity provided to me by the board for the last almost 3 years to help get CEA up and running. And I want to especially express my appreciation for the opportunity to work with Barbara Boswell as CEO. It has been an amazing journey for me to work with her. So thank you so much for the opportunity. It's been a great experience for me. And Andy, I know will do a fantastic job.
Thank you. Thank you for your service. We really appreciate it. And Mr. Stern, would you like to say hello? You probably said hello to everyone already, but any?
Sure. Well, would I like to say hello? I don't know, but if you're giving me an option, I'm not sure. I have said hello to most of the board members, and I have been working, as I mentioned to all of you on calls, that I've worked with Peninsula Clean Energy for about 4 years, about 300,000 customers, which is substantially bigger than CEA. But CEA looks like it's poised to get to that level in the next couple of years, and hopefully I can do the same good job that Marie did.
Very good. All right. Well, I think go ahead. Board Member Green.
I just had a question for you on page 61 of the agenda. When it talks about Mr. Stern's compensation, there's a not to exceed amount there. And I was kind of just wondering, I don't necessarily need to get into the numbers aspect of it, but do we have like a set amount? It says not to exceed. Is it an hourly rate? Like how will it work out at the end of the year in our budget? I know it's our projected not to exceed amount, but just kind of wondering, how do we, not we want to hold them accountable, but as a, member of the board, exactly how do we keep track of that? Yeah,
we have contracted with Andy on a flat monthly basis, assuming part-time services. The total amount not to exceed was within the CEO's signature authority and is included in the report. The total amount not to exceed, let me jump to that, is $75,000 for the current fiscal year.
All right. Well, that's great. Well, with that, I would move to approve the recommendation of bringing Mr. Stern on as our interim Chief Financial Officer / Treasurer.
I'll second.
Very good. We get a vote. Oh, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wanted to say just really briefly, for like a startup, scrappy, small organization, having a really engaged staff is so important, and I'm just super proud of the work that our folks have done, that Ms. Boswell has done, that Ms. Bercuti has done, the original team, including the attorneys and the original board members. So I know I've only been the primary representative for Carlsbad for just this year, and I know all the work that's been put into this. So I'm just super grateful, and I know that Mr. Stern knows what that is because he's been part of the startup efforts of a similar organization. So I think this is a great move, and I support it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. All right, let's call for the vote.
Okay, Member Green,
Aye.
Member Insco,
Yes.
Member Musgrove,
Aye.
Member Kime,
Yes.
Member Acosta,
Yes.
Vice Chair Drucker,
Yes.
and Chair Becker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, congratulations. Welcome to the team. All right, brings us to item number 9. Where is it on my page here? Clean Energy Alliance Chief Executive Officer Operational, Administrative, and Regulatory Affairs Update.
Thank you, Chair Becker. I have a brief presentation to touch on a couple of items from my report this month, and then I'll turn it over to Ms. Erin Hudak, who's from Posdal APC, our regulatory attorneys, and she will provide an update to the board on regulatory and legislative matters. And are the slides advancing?
Yes.
Great. Okay, the first thing that I'd like to update the board on is with regards to our net energy metering true-ups. So for those customers who are solar customers, they have we track their usage and charges and credits over what's known as a 12-month relevant period. And then at the end of that 12 months, we perform a process called truing up. And since we enrolled almost all of our customers in May and June, our first annual true up occurred for those customers who had their 1-year anniversaries in May and June. As we analyze the charges and credits, if there's a charge due, then the charge is presented on the bill for payment, and then any remaining credits are cleared out. Then when we review the system generated kilowatt hour generation, and we compare that to the customer's energy use in kilowatt hours, if their system generated more than they used, then we do offer what's known as a net surplus compensation. We pay customers 6 cents per kilowatt hour on that excess generation. For customers that had a May true-up, if they had remained with SDG&E, they would have earned just over 3.3 cents per kilowatt hour. And the June true-up compensation for SDG&E was 2.887 cents per kilowatt hour. Per our policy, if the net surplus compensation exceeds $100, then we issue a check. And we did issue over 1,500 checks for those May and June true-ups. If it's less than $100, it's rolled forward and accumulated for the next year. One improvement that we made to this process that we put into place August 15th is that ongoing, rather than holding charges till the end, we have worked with San Diego Gas and Electric to allow for us to have our charges presented on the bill in the month that it occurs. Customers then have the option of either paying it or allowing the charges to roll forward until the end of the relevant period. Doing so ensures the customers have visibility at the top of their bill of the total charges due. Previously, we had reflected the accumulated charges due at the bottom portion of our part of the bill, which was further down in pages. This gives the customers more options, or the same options that they have and had with SDG&E with regards to managing their payments and their payment options throughout the relevant period. Moving on to our joint rate comparisons. So each year, Clean Energy Alliance and San Diego Gas and Electric are required to work together to develop what's called a joint rate comparison. And that is to be mailed to customers, to all customers, whether they're Clean Energy Alliance customers or they've opted out and stayed with SDG&E. Those mailers are going out this year. and it is required by the California Public Utilities Commission Code of Conduct. We send out separate mailers for residential care, and commercial customers, and then they're also based on exit fee vintage. You might remember that Solana Beach, because those customers departed SDG&E in 2018, they're in a different exit fee vintage than Carlsbad and Del Mar. And I do want to stop my sharing this and just display for the board those mailers so you can have a look, see what they look like. If I can find it here. One moment. Here we go. Okay, this is the joint rate mailer for customers who are in the city of Solana Beach. It details out for average usage for customers within our territory, the charges, generation, delivery, exit fees, franchise fees, and then total electricity cost. And it compares SDG&E's two power supply products against Clean Energy Alliance's Clean Impact and our Green Impact. And these are for rates effective June 1st. So you can see for Solana Beach customers in the 2017 exit fee vintage, they're saving about $5 per month on the 50% renewable Clean Impact, and do have a savings of about $2 per month if they're enrolled in our 100% green renewable Green Impact. In addition to the comparison of costs, there's also provided the electric generation power mix information that provides the sources of energy for both SDG&E's products and Clean Energy Alliance's power supply products. Now I'm just going to jump over real quick to the mailer for customers in Carlsbad and Del Mar. So because the exit fee is different for customers in Carlsbad and Del Mar, and due to SDG&E's just recent rate decrease, the mailers do reflect a slightly higher cost, about $1.03 on average per month for our customers enrolled in Clean Impact, and about $4 per month for customers enrolled in our 100% renewable energy power supply. As mentioned in our last meeting, this is a temporary condition. SDG&E's rates are not reflective of current market conditions. We know they will go up in January based on their current rate application, but that could occur sooner because they are now not collecting sufficient revenue to cover their costs and have filed a notice with the PUC notifying them that they are now in a state of under collection. And that concludes my portion of the presentation, and I'll turn it over to Erin, and she can move on with her portion unless the board had any questions on either of those two items.
I did have one question. So our call center will be ready to handle some calls that might come in after these flyers go out.
Yes, they are. Thank you for that. We did provide talking points to the call center about the mailers and the current comparisons, particularly for Carlsbad and Del Mar, for those customers who may have questions.
Right. Very good. Okay. All right.
Okay, great. Then I will take over. Nobody else has any questions. Let me share my PowerPoint. All right, so I'm going to go over some of the legislative and regulatory updates from the past month or so. Starting with the big Inflation Reduction Act that was recently passed in federal Congress, going through to SDG&E's general rate case, the new CPUC demand flexibility rulemaking, and finally an update on the net energy metering 3.0. So as you've probably heard, there's a huge bill that was recently passed, Inflation Reduction Act. This is a comprehensive bill. It replaces the original Build Back Better plan. It includes healthcare, climate, and tax legislation. We're going to focus on the energy and climate goals. Those are to lower consumer energy cost, increase American energy security, invest in decarbonizing all sectors of the economy, and focus investments into disadvantaged communities. This is a graphic that I got from the Princeton University Zero Lab, showing kind of the share of where these emissions reductions are going to come from, comparing that original Build Back Better plan to the current Inflation Reduction Act. You can see that a significant amount comes from power, not quite as much as had been originally planned, but there's going to be huge reductions in greenhouse gas emissions in the coming years. Additionally, this chart shows the comparison of the act on the right and then the current plan. You can see there's going to be a ton of investment in solar, wind, even some hydrogen fuel. So lots of changes coming up, and focusing on giving incentives for using clean energy. So first of all, the lower consumer energy costs, there's a bunch of rebate and tax credits available for consumer home energy rebates, consumer tax credits for energy efficient homes, credits for buying clean vehicles, and affordable housing energy efficiency. For the energy security and domestic manufacturing side, there's going to be production tax credits for U.S. manufacturing of solar panels, wind turbines, batteries, and critical minerals processing. They're going to invest in building clean technology manufacturing facilities, investment in heat pumps and critical minerals processing, retooling auto manufacturing facilities to make clean vehicles, loans to build new clean vehicle manufacturing facilities, and accelerating energy research. Next, there's going to be a focus on decarbonizing the economy. This first bullet is probably especially relevant for CEA, that there will be a tax credit for clean sources of electricity and energy storage, and targeted grant and loan programs for states and electric utilities to accelerate the transition to clean energy. Tax credits and grants for clean fuels and clean commercial vehicles, credits to reduce emissions from industrial manufacturing, investment in American-made clean technology, deployment of clean technologies to reduce emissions, and methane emissions reduction program. Finally, this bill does have a heavy focus on environmental justice and benefits to low-income communities. Again, there's a series of grants and incentives for environmental and climate justice, neighborhood access and equity grants, air pollution at ports, and investment in heavy-duty vehicles for school buses, transit buses, and garbage trucks. And that's all I have for Inflation Reduction Act. So next up is the SDG&E general rate case. There was a pre-hearing conference on July 27th. There was a focus on scoping issues, scheduling, and public participation hearings. So one of the big things that came up as far as scoping issues was this question of, should cost functionalization methodologies be reviewed in phase 1 as proposed by the joint CCAs, which was CEA along with SDCP. And the question is, if yes, is it encompassed by one of the main issues discussed earlier? Please define cost functionalization. So as a background, the joint CCAs raised this issue. Sempra, which is both SDG&E and SoCalGas, argued that the cost allocation among customer classes was out of scope. Our team explained that we borrowed this term from a previous decision that was relating to PG&E's GRC. It refers to the process by which costs are allocated across various utility functions like generation and delivery functions. And then the ALJ seem to agree with us, but we won't know for sure until that final scoping memo is released, which we can expect in the next month or two. As far as scheduling, the parties discussed the scheduling procedure. Again, that will be official with the scoping memo that will come out shortly. Additionally, the public participation hearings, they discussed having these, and also, just so you know, San Diego Community Power sent a letter requesting that those will be in-person hearings. So that's another thing that we'll keep an eye out for. Next up, there's a new demand flexibility rulemaking in the CPUC. This is going to be a huge one, a significant overhaul to demand response rules. It will consider updates to the Commission's rate design principles, guidance principles for demand flexibility, and how to streamline the patchwork niche of rates and programs that expand the use of demand flexibility beyond early adopters. You can see this is a huge number of objectives, including reliability, more affordable electric bills, reducing curtailment of renewable energy, electrification of buildings and transportation, reducing long-term system costs through efficient pricing, and enabling participation in demand flexibility by both bundled and unbundled customers. So that's important because the CEA customers are those unbundled customers, and the CPUC made it clear that this will be for both CCA customers and for IOU customers. Some strategies that they're considering include universal access to the electricity price through a state-based internet price portal, introducing dynamic energy prices based on real-time wholesale energy costs, incorporating dynamic capacity prices on real-time grid utilization, offering bidirectional electricity prices, allowing customers to import and export energy, offering subscription option based on customer-specific load shapes, and enabling transactive features that allow customers to lock in electricity prices to import or export at a predetermined quantity of energy at some future time. And then finally, a status update on net energy metering. So on May 9th, the administrative law judge ruled requesting comments on the topics presented. Then on June 10th, there were opening comments. July 1st were reply comments. And so the next steps are going to be that the CPUC will likely issue a proposed decision based on the comments received. We're thinking that will happen pretty soon, maybe by the end of August. So I know that there was a request to have an update on that, but the update is kind of that we're still waiting to see what the CPUC will come out with. As a background and a reminder, this ruling will likely address these three topics that were addressed in the ruling in the comments. That's the glide path approach, the non-bypassable charges on gross consumption, and the community distributed energy resources. And then, yeah, that's all I have. Does anyone have any questions?
Oh, that is a lot to digest. Congratulations on breaking that all down for us. Sorry about that. Do we have questions? Board Member Green.
Sorry, I'm the new guy, so I have a lot to learn here. Erin, when you were speaking about the different funds that were available through the Inflation Reduction Act, you mentioned $30 billion for electric storage. And I'm just wondering, when it comes to money for energy and things, do we actually have a grant writer? Like, I know we're a new organization, but does the CEA have somebody searching out getting that money, or is that still a department that we haven't fully, locked in yet?
Board Member Green, yeah, I can answer that question.
Thanks, Barbara.
We don't currently have a grant writer on staff. We do have approved in the budget a position, a programs and account manager position, and that programs manager would be responsible for seeking funding such as grant funds through this act for programs that we can then implement.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Board Member Acosta.
Thank you. And thanks to Ms. Hudak for the presentation. This is really great, comprehensive, and thank you for covering so much. I was one of the ones interested in the net energy metering 3.0 that the CPUC had brought up. And I just want to remind people that that's been pushed back. They were originally supposed to consider it, I want to say like December of last year. They pushed it back. There was a lot of community pressure and activist pressure, environmentalist pressure, saying that we really want to make sure that it doesn't penalize rooftop solar owners. There were several other pieces of NEM 3.0 that were upsetting to some environmentalists. So I just thought that we should keep a good eye on this. And even if it is agendized again soon, we might want to take a look and see if our board wants to send a letter just to weigh in on behalf of renewable energies. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so we're keeping an eye on it, and we'll send an update as soon as there's any new steps, or else I'll be in touch with Barbara, and Barbara can let me know if she wants our firm to handle any of that communication with the CPUC.
Okay. Thank you for that. All right, we are moving on. Item number 10 is appoint Del Mar and Solana Beach Community Advisory Committee members. And I will turn this back to our CEO. If there's any introductory comments.
Thank you, Chair Becker. Yes, this item is before the board for consideration to fill 2 vacancies that we have on our Community Advisory Committee due to resignations from the incumbents. We have one position that we opened up accepted applications for, one for the city of Solana Beach and one for the city of Del Mar. And once the application period closed, we did provide the applications to our board, to the respective boards for their review and consideration. We have one appointment for the city of Del Mar, which is a position for a term through the end of this calendar year, December 31st, 2022. And the city of Solana Beach Advisory Committee member is for a position for a term through December 31st of 2023.
All right, I can discuss my appointment if that would be appropriate.
Yep.
Yes, all right, so I am pleased to appoint Greg Colson. He brings years of experience in sustainability and clean power from Georgia. And he might be here if he would like to. Could we look and see if we have him in the waiting room and he could say hello?
I am looking at our attendees, but I do not see any of our prospective new.
Okay. Well, I know that he will fit in well, and he's excited to fill this position, and I'm glad it's a whole year, not just a few months, but so happy to have Mr. Colson. And Vice Chair Drucker, you've made your decision?
Yes, so the City Council a couple weeks ago determined that Dolores Jamison would be the best person to be on the Community Advisory Committee. Dolores has a long background in marketing, PR, sustainability. She worked at UCSD for years in their marketing department, and she's been on our Sustainability Advisory Board and has shown her huge concern for climate change, et cetera. So happy to have her on board for the next few months, and we'll see what happens for 2023.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to move approval of those 2 appointments?
I would move approval of the 2 appointments.
Okay, and I'll
I'd be
second.
happy to second.
Okay. Call for the vote.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member Insco,
Yes.
Member Musgrove,
Yes.
Member Kime,
Yes.
Member Acosta,
Yes.
Vice Chair Drucker,
Yes.
Chair Becker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Okay. And I'm just going to assume that we did not have any public comment on item 9 as well.
We have no public comment.
Okay. All right. Very good. So welcome aboard to our 2 new Citizen Advisory Committee members. Moves us to item number 11, declare Community Advisory Committee vacancies for the cities of Oceanside and Vista.
Thank you, Chair Becker. And I do have just a very quick presentation for the board, and I will likely have to, are the slides advancing? Did they go to the recommendation?
No.
Okay. So what's before the board for consideration at this time is declaring vacancies for community advisory, the 2 community advisory committee vacancies for the cities of Oceanside and Vista. One position would be for a term through December of 2024. And the second would be for a term through December 2025 in order to establish the staggered positions for those advisory committee members. And also the board to direct the application period be open from September 1st through September 30th, 2022. Per Clean Energy Alliance's adopted policy, each member agency appoints 2 community advisory committee members, and they serve staggered 3-year terms. And as mentioned, the initial appointments, 1 member serves a 2-year term, and the second, the 3-year term, to establish that staggering. The requirements for consideration of a community advisory committee member is that they must be a resident or business owner within the city they're being appointed. The committee is subject to the conflicts of interest laws, and so our members are required to file the Form 700s. And the policy also states that we're looking for those residents or business owners with relevant background or expertise in electricity, community outreach or engagement, or public advocacy. We also request that the members be committed to serving on the Community Advisory Committee and attending our meetings. They are held every other month on the first Thursday at 2 p.m. The board does set the annual work plan and meeting schedule of our Community Advisory Committee. And we have 2 meetings for the remainder of this year. They are on October the 6th and December the 1st. We will accept applications for the month of September, and those will go to our Clean Energy Alliance Board Secretary. And at the end of the application period, we'll forward the applications to the appropriate board and alternate for consideration. Those board members will review the applications and then come back to this board at its October 27th regular meeting to nominate their positions. We will have the applications available on our website. We put a pop-up window so anyone visiting our website would see that come up and notify them that we are accepting applications. We also advertise through our social media outlets, and we work with our member cities to advertise and assist with getting the word out to the communities about the positions being open. And that concludes my presentation.
Right, so that board member Keim and board member Green know that they will be choosing those and then bringing them back to us.
I'll move approval.
Okay, very good. I'll second that. Call for the vote.
Member Insco,
Yes.
Member Musgrove,
Yes.
Member Keim,
Yes.
Member Acosta,
Yes.
Member Green,
Aye.
Vice Chair Drucker,
Yes.
Chair Becker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, very good. Item number 12, consider and provide direction regarding amendment to Clean Energy Alliance Joint Powers Agreement, setting the chair and vice chair term limits.
Thank you, Chair Becker. This item is on the board's agenda for consideration based on board direction at the end of last year. There's no recommendation other than for the board to discuss and provide direction with regards to potential amendment to our joint powers agreement establishing chair and vice chair term limits. The current JPA states that the board elects chair and vice chair to serve for a calendar year with no limit to the number of terms. The board authority to amend the JPA is established in section 4.12.1 and sets that it takes a 2/3 affirmative vote of the entire board for the amendment related to term limits. We're required to provide a 30 days advance written notice prior to the amendment and include in that notice the proposed language for the amendment to the JPA. We must also then provide prompt written notice to all parties of the action taken once the board approves the amendment and include in there the signed resolution, amendment, or agreement. I did reach out to the other CCAs in California and inquire about whether or not they have term limits. Of the responses that I received back, there were 5 that do not currently have any term limits for their chair or vice chair. One CCA indicated that they have a 2-year limit for their chair and vice chair terms. Another indicated that they have their chair and vice chair serve for 2 years, and that they then have a two-term limit. So it'd be a total of 4 years. And then a third said that they have chair and vice chair can serve up to 3 one-year terms. And that concludes my presentation.
Thank you for doing that. Yes, thank you for doing that research. I was curious about that. Does anybody have any suggestions of how they'd like to see it? And open to any recommendations, Vice Chair Drucker?
Yeah, I was thinking that a 2-year term limit would make sense so that we can all share on the wealth of being chair and vice chair. It's, it's a privilege, and it's nice to see that change every few years so that we can, again, more people get a chance to be the chair. To represent CEA, to run the meetings, etc. Informally, Sandag has had that 2 years, although right now they're not in that. North County Transit District also has a 2-year informal. They're pretty much informal, but I thought it would make sense for us to formalize it.
Does that go with the city or with the actual council member?
It goes with the actual member.
Okay. So if that member then rotates off the CEA board and a new person from, let's say, Del Mar comes in, that person could serve a 2-year term too?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would think it goes with the person, not with the city.
Okay. And Board Member Acosta?
Thanks. Yeah, I just wanted to chime in that sounds like a great idea. I think the two-year term limit for chair and vice chair sound really good. I am involved with a nonprofit called the Institute for Local Government, and they do the same thing, 2-year chair, and it goes with the person, and it seems to work really well. So I agree.
Anybody else have any comments? One way or the other?
I would just offer that if we do the 2-year term limit, are we going to set it up, much as I hate to say it, based on the election cycle? Because if we don't, we might find it somewhat disruptive midterm. Otherwise, if you assign it to a city, then that kind of negates that problem to begin with.
No, we assign it to a person, and that's what we do calendar year. So so after the election, and the elections are certified, and the new members are seated in December, we would assume, then
this January.
Yeah. Then in we would have a new chair and vice chair as of in January.
That works. All right, Council Member or Board Member Green.
Thank you so much, Chair. I was just wondering, and I assume that it's the same, don't we reappoint the chair annually by a vote of the board, or would this be like, hey, we install them for a 2-year term and we don't reappoint annually? I'm not on any of the boards that have an official term limit on these boards. A lot of times you don't have people, and I'm sure we do this as a great board, but sometimes the chairs who are on it are great chairs and want to keep serving, and it's really their passion. So I'm just wondering, obviously, if annually, we relook at it and, there's another person who wants it. I've never had a problem shifting the chair in another board, but I've never had an official policy. So I'm just wondering, does this lock you in for a 2-year term, or is it, hey, every year we still talk about
it? I think, basically it is every year. The authority, our GPA authority basically says we nominate or elect a chair and vice chair every year. So
you could serve 1 year and then you could take some time off and serve another year. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, or you could serve a couple more years or whatever. But the idea is, every year we have to.
I was trying to figure out too, if somebody is an elected official for, say 3 terms, which would be 12 years, is it 2 years per 4-year term? Or is it, hey, if you're on this board for 12 years, you can only be the president once over your 12-year elected term? Because it's going to be a change to the bylaws, I would assume. So I just want to make sure that all the verbiage is specific and everybody kind of knows what we're voting on.
I think, didn't we discuss this earlier this year or last year? And we talked about you can do 2 back-to-backs, but you would then have to take at least 1 term as a break before you came on again or applied. Does that sound familiar to anyone?
So then maybe it's not a term limits type of language then,
It's a term sequence or frequency, maybe.
right?
There was one of the slides that Barbara had shown where it said, hey, it was a 2-year limit and a 2-term limit. And maybe that's what you do is you say, hey, it's a 2-year, 3-term over the life of your elected. I don't know, most electeds I would say are 3 terms max, 12 years, but who knows how long people serve these days. But
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
I think that's what
along with your thought there, Joe, if we just said no more than 2 consecutive terms.
Okay.
Because if you do have that one person that does an excellent job and likes doing it and the rest of the board agrees, they can certainly come
4
back for an
years.
additional set. Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So 2 years with no more than 2 consecutive terms. That way, at least every 2, most every 2 years, and our most 4 years, but every 2 years we have the opportunity.
But you're still saying we revisit it every year, just in case.
Of course. Yeah. The bylaws will still stay the same as we'll reappoint with the intention of appointing annually if you're under your term. But,
it isn't the intention. We have to.
And I wouldn't mind hearing from our attorney on this matter, if she could enlighten us on anything we're missing or something that might improve that policy.
Thank you, Chair. In this particular case, I was reviewing our JPA agreement, and it, as noted in the staff report, under specific section 5.2, each calendar year, the board shall elect a chair and a vice chair with no limitation. And as I understand it, what is before you is whether or not you want to put limitations on there. You have some options. You can have a full-blown change to the JPA agreement indicating that a board member may serve as chair and vice chair for a period of 2 years or a period of 2 terms with no more than 2 years. That's one option. Another option is for the board, in anticipation that there may be some changes, to have it as an informal policy among you that says, since we're revisiting this anyway every January, that you can make the motion at that point. It's really within your discretion on how formal you would like this to be. And in terms of how we formalize whatever policy decision you make, we will be coming back to you if you decide to have it a more formal with a specific language, so you will have an opportunity to look at it.
And you would be making these changes? Are you the one that revises our JPA?
In conjunction with the CEO, I will be there.
Okay. All right. Board Member Acosta, did you have something?
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify. I have my hand up before some of the other comments were made, and it's going back to Board Member Green's comment about the annual appointment, and there was some conversation with Board Member Warden about that. So just to clarify, what we're talking about, the intent of the language is just to cap the number of years that our chair and vice chair would serve, but not give them a 2-year appointment. So it's not a 2-year appointment for chair, it's an annual appointment, but they couldn't serve 2 years, more than 2 years in a row, right? We're all agreed on that, right? That's kind of what I was checking in on, because even for this other one, for Institute for Local Government, it's not a given that the person's going to be selected again for the second year, but they would cap the term at 2 years at a time.
All right, and I see Vice Chair Drucker's back on the board.
Yeah. So I just, we're a new organization, and I think it's, rather than having an informal policy, I think it makes sense for us to have a formal policy. And that's why I'm suggesting, that we do have the 2-year limit. Obviously the board can kind of change that at any time per se. Somebody stops being chair, and then, I don't see where this would limit that person from not coming back to be chair, 2-3 years later or something like that. But again, I think it's really important that we formalize this rather than have an informal and then find that at some point there's a chair that is a chair sitting for 3-4 years. And again, we don't share the wealth.
All right, Board Member Green.
My only question was like Councilmember Musgrove stated is if we have a really good chair, I get that the term limits are 2 years. I think we put a limit on the number of terms you can serve, but my question kind of was, are we allowed to have a good chair serve 2 consecutive terms and those be the only 2 terms they serve? Or are we going to say no consecutive terms allowed? Obviously, I don't care. I just want to make sure that we all know what we're voting on, because Mr. Musgrove stated, hey, if we have a good chair, maybe we say they can do their 2 terms consecutively if the board's okay with it, since we're revisiting it annually. But if you don't want to have anybody in that position any longer than 2 years period, then you would have to state no consecutive terms allowed, I would think, correct? I think our council would.
All right, we've got our general counsel. Let's hear from her.
Thank you very much. As it stands today, section 5.2 of the agreement, the pertinent section says the term of office of the chair and vice chair shall continue for 1 year, but there shall be no limit on the number of terms held by either chair or vice chair. So that's the sentence that we are looking at. That's before you. What I've heard, and depending on the motion, remember there hasn't been any motion yet, so depending on the motion and whether or not that motion passes, that can take a number of forms. I have heard that the chair and vice chair may serve up to 2 years, but no more than 2 consecutive years as chair and vice chair. I also heard a discussion saying, well, you can serve for 2 years, take a break, and then come back. So as you formulate the motion that you want the board to consider, if we can get clarification, then it'll be easier for us to draft that sentence, depending on what the majority would like it to read.
And it looks like per you, the JPA currently has the board and vice chair as a 1-year term, which is why we revisit it annually. So I think that's the thing, is we keep the terms the same. That way it's easy and just say, no more than, 2 consecutive terms at the 1 year and go from there. Because I don't think we need to change the term requirements if that's how it's already stated in our JPA. So that would be me, is do 1-year terms is already in there and no more than 2 consecutive terms, which would be 2 years.
I would agree with that.
Right, Madam CEO.
Yeah, I just was going to ask our general counsel to clarify the form this could take. So if the board does direct that there be established no more than 2 1-year term consecutive terms, what are the options? You mentioned an informal policy. I heard Vice Chair Drucker indicate he's interested in a more formal policy. Would it be a bylaw? Would it be the bylaws? What is the form it takes for that?
You have some options. The most formal of formal will be an amendment to the JPA, because that's where it's embedded right now. It also states that at this point, and I have to, full disclosure, this is my first full meeting with the board. So I'm not quite familiar with what else has happened before, but there is an opportunity for you to have policies, established policies, where that will be stated. And I know that it's been, I don't want to say dismissed, but I don't think there's an appetite for something less formal than that. So options right now is a full-blown amendment to the JPA or establishing a policy clarifying what 5.2 would mean in practice. And that's the less formal option.
That sounds very good, because this board could change dramatically with these, all these cities and different elections. So maybe it'd be easier to change another policy, right? And
correct. And that would not require an amendment that would go to the member agency. This is what I would call an administrative policy by the board. because as I heard, and again, depending on the motion, what I heard is that even though there's a 2 consecutive term that is being contemplated, the board may want at a calendar year to discuss it again. And that does not change the JPA language, which says it's 1 year with no limit. But you can have a policy if you so choose. As I've told my boards and my council, is that the JPA is the constitution of this board, and it's, you know, that's why it's the most formal, and it would require a lot more work. If this is administrative function, it can be a policy if you so choose.
All right, Board Member Green, comment?
All right, so just to make sure that I understand you correctly, as opposed to making a motion to amend the actual JPA, we can simply make a motion to create an administrative policy that reflects a maximum number of consecutive terms to be 2 years.
Yes, that is available to you.
And it's a very simple motion. It doesn't change the term or anything with our JPA. It's administrative policy, but it's official because we have it on record, correct?
Correct. If
Okay.
that is the motion and if the board votes for it, that is correct.
Okay. Well, I will tell you what, I'm just going to make the motion because I wrote one down. So I would move that the board create an administrative policy to reflect that the maximum number of consecutive terms to be 2 years as vice chair and chair.
I will second it, but I do have a question. Do we have any board policies, or would this be the first board policy?
We do have administrative policies that the board has adopted. This will be the first policy that's specific to the board.
Okay, would it, I don't know if I've ever seen those policies, so I guess we did just one in terms of check clearing, et cetera, but do we have those somewhere that we can view them at some point to see what all the policies are?
Sure, many of them are on our website, but I'd be happy to send them. The board has adopted 18 different policies over the course of the almost 3 years.
Okay.
So I will be happy to send those to the board.
Yeah, great.
Or we could just view them on the website.
Yeah.
I'm happy to just view it on there.
That's fine with me. I just didn't know where they were.
They were on there. Yeah, perfect. All right. Well, we
Okay.
saved ourselves some attorney time. Oh, we didn't vote yet. We have a motion and a second, and call for the vote.
Member Musgrove,
Aye.
Member Acosta,
Yes.
Member Kine,
Yes.
Member Insco,
Yes.
Member Green,
Aye.
Vice Chair Drucker,
Yes.
Chair Becker.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right. Is there any board member request for a future agenda item? All right. Okay. And we have, yes.
Chair Becker, I just will clarify that we will bring this policy back to the board, and we would likely bring it back in October. So it'll be adopted prior to the next time the board appoints their chair and vice chair.
Okay. And board member Acosta, are you going to be discussing the date of the next meeting? Because I forgot I didn't call you back on that.
Yeah, no, that's what I was going to say.
Okay, perfect. Go ahead.
Well, I understood that was in our consent that we already approved the change of the date for the next meeting. Isn't that right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, so I just wanted to share with you all that I'm going out of town for my birthday. I'm really excited, so I'm gonna miss this. I did see it on the agenda before, and I mentioned to Ms. Boswell that I wouldn't be able to attend if we changed the meeting date to September 22nd. But I've spoken to my alternate, Councilmember Priya Patel, and she can join in my stead. So I'm sorry to miss you. It's been my goal to try to make every single meeting. And I always will make this a priority. But for this time, I already had my birthday trip planned. So I'm sorry that I'll miss you at the next meeting.
All right, thank you for that. Okay, so our next meeting will be September 22nd, 2022 at 2 p.m. and it'll be virtual. I have adjourned this meeting. Have a good afternoon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.
Thank you.